Hello, friend. My name is Ollie. I'd like to share something with you, something I went through back in the middle of February 2019. Today, the date I'm filming this is May 3rd, 2019. So basically, one morning, I recently woke up, I was still in bed, and I was in a real rut, okay? I was really depressed. Um, and I was thinking about several situations in my life that I had gone through, things that were very emotionally draining, um, things that I did not have closure on. So you can imagine it really, really stung. It was still very fresh for me. Um, and of course, when you're in that sort of really intense emotional pain, it's all too easy to let negative self-talk creep in. And if you've seen some of my other videos, for example, Guilt is Like Coffee, uh, and that one talks about processing guilt, I talk about self-talk and how important it is, how powerful it is, and how damaging negative, unhealthy self-talk is. And to give you an idea of the type of things I was telling myself, get ready, buckle up. Feeling worthless, unlovable, unable to change or grow, unable to succeed, unable to hold relationships. Really nasty things that nobody should ever be telling themselves, seriously. So, fortunately, throughout the years, of feeling these things and disproving these things, I have learned. I'm at a place now where I genuinely believe that those things are not true. Okay? I realize I was just in the emotional vortex, is what I call it, that it sucks you in, these feelings of worthlessness and despair and a lack of hope and pain. And if you've experienced depression, you probably know what I'm talking about. So, but I realized that these things aren't true. I believe that I am capable, I am lovable, I have had success, and I'm going to have more success, that sort of thing. So, I mean, I used to believe those negative things, and at high stress, it can feel sometimes like, I don't have worth or whatever, but thankfully I have grown past it, and I genuinely believe these positive things. It's just that I wasn't feeling it. And let me tell you, it took a lot of time to get to the place where I believe them. It took a lot of pain, a lot of hard lessons. It did not happen overnight. But anyway, so I took a step back and I realized what my mind was doing. I realized I was stuck in that vortex, and I knew I had to get a hold of myself if I wanted to enjoy my day and continue, right? So here's the thing, is that I honestly believed that I wasn't worthless or any of those other bad things. The bottom line is my genuine beliefs, what I honestly, logically believed, did not coexist with the nasty things that I was telling myself. See, I believed these good things, but I didn't feel them. And that's incredibly important. Feelings are very strong. I mean, with all the logic in the world, feelings are, it's how you experience life. I believe that's where much of the richness of life comes in, is your emotion. And that's why they're so strong. Even with all the logic in the world, it can be hard to get yourself out of a certain emotional state. And it's kind of like what I say in my Guilt is Like Coffee video. It can be really hard to feel, to want to be productive, to feel motivated when you have that lack of confidence and you're in a place where you genuinely believe that those efforts that they'll be in vain. It can be really hard to get out of that, to get in that right place that you want to be in. But fortunately, because of my experiences of feeling these things a lot and disproving them a lot, I knew better. And so it was difficult, it was a struggle, but I was able to pull myself to a place where I could listen to myself. I was at peace enough. Because it was almost like a panic attack. It was really bad what I was feeling that morning. But I was able to tell myself what I needed to hear. And what I needed to hear was the truth. Positive self-talk. The things that I honestly believed about myself, and not the negative stuff that I was stuck in. And exactly what I was telling myself, more on that in a bit. And when I say tell myself, I mean literally out loud. This is kind of a tangent, but it's a very important point to communicate, so bear with me. So a thought it's conceptual, it's hypothetical, it's intangible, while a spoken word, it's more physical. You can hear it with your ears. You have to move your mouth in order to make it, right? And so I mean, thoughts, they're a dime a dozen, right? I think I heard we have tens of thousands of thoughts in a day. I don't know if that's really the right number, but I mean, it sounds about right. I mean, we have a lot of thoughts all the time. They come and go all the time. And each thought on its own, just thought once, doesn't mean a whole lot. Now, yes, thoughts, if left unchecked, can become habitual over time. And then, of course, those really can shape our self-image and how we view things and all that sort of thing. But just once, in my experience, a single thought on its own does not have nearly the same impact as a word that you speak or hear. Words, a lot of people talk about the power of words and that sort of thing, and that's not really what I'm getting at here. I don't know a lot about that. What I'm simply saying is that in my own experience, a word that I hear or speak has more impact on me than just yet another random thought in my head, right? So, even if your self-talk, right? Even if there's nobody around to hear it, which is actually preferable in self-talk, I think. But even if nobody's around to hear it, when you say it and bring it out, now it's outside of you, right? It's external, and it has some sort of basis or stake in the world outside of you rather than just the world in your head, right? So it's not just you anymore, right? It now has the persona of something that actually exists rather than something that just could exist or may exist, right? And it's a pretty subtle distinction, but in my experience, it is very, very important. So you may have noticed by the type of self-talk that I was saying that I had no confidence. I had a major lack. I had no confidence. I didn't feel confident at all. And this is really important to note. I had no confidence, not in the least, okay? So attempting the self-talk, I am confident, it would not work. And I know this because I've done that type of self-talk before. I've tried that, saying I am this, when I'm very much not that. And it actually frustrates me. And here's why. You see, my issue is that I'm not confident. That's what I'm upset about. I know it's not true when I say I am confident. I know it's a lie. I'm not confident. Don't tell me that I am confident. That's what I'm upset about. So not only is it untrue, which just makes it difficult for me to believe and get a grasp on, but it disregards how I feel. At least that's how it strikes me when I'm in that emotional state, right? So, I mean, we've all been there, right? Where we're upset about something, and we really, really, really want somebody to understand how we feel. And when that doesn't happen, or when somebody acts like they understand, they really don't, then it's just frustrating. It makes you feel worse. So when I try to tell myself that I am confident when I'm in that mindset, I'm ignoring my own feelings. I can't help myself by choosing to operate outside of reality. So actually now I am in a state where I probably could meditate and use that as an affirmation and say I am confident. And even though I'm not the most confident person, I'm in a place now where I am able to accept and thus make that reality. You see, if I want to be confident, I have to sort of make that decision, right? So, and I have grown more confidence. I have grown more peace and self-acceptance. And so when I say I am confident, it actually does have a stake in reality. It has a basis in reality. It's something I can get behind. It's something I can believe. So then I can use those words to practice being confident and to grow that confidence. That can actually work now. The difference is that when I'm stuck in that emotional vortex, right, and I don't feel any confidence, I can't get behind it. Where I am now, I'm in a pretty good place, and I can use the confidence I do have, the happiness that I do have, the gratitude, whatever, and use that as a basis to grow my confidence. Because then, instead of being in a state of no confidence and thinking I am confident and knowing that's not true, I'm actually in a decent place right now, and I can think I am confident. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can get behind that. I am confident, and I can believe it, right? I can make that for myself. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So this is a very important point here, is that it is very important to acknowledge your feelings if you want to confront your feelings. How can you confront something without acknowledging it, right? And I touched on that in my Guilt is Like Coffee video. There's a lot of similar points there. So I could have, that morning when I was feeling bad in bed, I could have ignored it. I could have chosen not to confront it or acknowledge it, and I could have just tried to numb myself to it, or possibly worse, even just accept it. And obviously that wouldn't have been healthy at all. So I chose to talk to myself. I chose to talk to myself in a realistic and self-accepting way so that I could get some work done inside myself, right? I talked to myself in a basis of truth and my honest beliefs. And so what I actually said to myself was, I have every reason to be confident. I have no reason to not have confidence. And it was very similar, of course, to saying I am confident, but it is different. It was the same intent of trying to get to that place of confidence and productivity and being able to get through my day. But it was a very important distinction because instead of trying to, brute force my beliefs, saying I am confident when I'm not, I was honest with myself. Instead of saying I am confident, I said, well, you have every reason to be confident. And then I think, oh, I do. I legitimately worked with myself. It was acknowledging reality that allowed me to pull myself out of the vortex. You see, I was not feeling this truth, which is why I had to tell myself this truth. I had to remind myself, right? I had to talk myself out of the vortex. And once I was able to get a hold of myself, I was able to remember, oh yeah, reality, truth, those bad feelings are a lie. Yes, there are regrets. Yes, there's pain. Yes, there are things I wish were different. But none of it is good reason to not have faith in my future, to not feel confident in continuing my life, to create a future, living with purpose, being myself, right? There's no good reason to let myself get sucked into the vortex. I have every reason to continue. This was so much more powerful than just trying to convince myself of something that I already knew was a lie. Just because I wanted to feel confident doesn't mean that I was in the moment. You see, it was when I realized that I was in that vortex, that was the moment when I was finally able to look at it from an outside perspective as an observer rather than somebody that's in the thoughts, wrapped up in the feelings, right? It's a lot like meditation, which I don't do as often as I should. And there are a lot of definitions for meditation, but what I mean here is simply quieting yourself, relaxing, maybe putting on some waterfall sounds in the background. I love those. And simply being an observer to your thoughts. You let your thoughts come and go, right? So when a thought enters your mind, you don't get wrapped up in the thought. You don't follow that train of thought. You don't get emotionally invested, which is a big thing. It's also too easy to think of some uncomfortable thought and then you're not in a peaceful state. We want to stay in that peaceful state. So you simply acknowledge the thought and let it pass, right? And this can really help when you're overwhelmed. It's about being outside your thoughts. And once you realize that they're just thoughts that you're having, you're now above them, right? You're not part of them, right? You realize it's just a thought you have, and we have lots of thoughts. And this is basically a really good exercise to help you direct your mind and your thoughts more deliberately. You want to think about what you're thinking about. And by doing that, I was able to get a hold of myself and then use positive, healthy self-talk to get myself where I need to be. I was able to tell myself truth, things that I know as fact. The type of stuff I said was like, I care about others, I'm a hard worker, I have a loving family, I have talents, whatever, anything that I truly believe about my self-image, positive, healthy, constructive things, right? And that's helped me realize I have every reason to have confidence. And that's also a reason why gratitude is very important, because then when you're grateful for things, you begin to believe, oh wow, these are good things in my life, and that helps point you towards a better direction. That's probably another topic for another day, though. But anyway, so I ended up feeling a lot better that day. I felt strong and powerful, and I felt confident, and I actually had a good day. It was enjoyable and even productive. And the day afterwards, I was actually able to write down my thoughts on this. And a couple months later, here we are on this video where I'm sharing it with you. And that wouldn't be possible if I didn't tackle it head on like how I'm describing to you now. I really, really hope that you got a lot of good out of this. Believe me, I understand you may be in a place right now where you don't feel like you have positive traits to feel confident about or good things in your life to feel grateful for. Believe me, I have been there. I've been in those really dark, desperate, hopeless places a lot. And I promise you, I am completely convinced that everybody has good things within them that can somehow be used for good, for healing, for growth, for love, for something good. everybody in the world. And it's often, I would say, maybe usually, um, in these dark times where we end up discovering these things about ourselves, right? They cause us to find these things. And so you keep working through it, right? I mean, and this is kind of a small example, but it's funny, so I'll throw it out there. In school, my worst subject was writing, and I hated giving presentations. I really got super nervous standing up, having to tell things to other classmates and whatever. And now I have a YouTube channel and I write as a hobby, right? I mean, and frankly, I would not have started Philosol if it weren't for all the garbage that I've had to work through in my life. And I'm at my best now. I'm at my happiest, my healthiest, my most confident. And it's because I worked through all those bad things. So one thing that everybody can do is make the choice. And what I mean by that is when you want to do something good, when you have that idea, bam, right there, that's the moment. That's the initial spark into something great. And you might hear other motivational speakers talk about this. For example, just the chair you're sitting in or whatever device you're watching this video on, that initially started as just a thought in somebody's head, right? It wouldn't have come into being if somebody didn't first have a thought about it, right? Because then they decided to act on it. So, and that goes for negative self-image too, because, and I touched on this in another video, I think it was Guilt is Like Coffee, a lot of similar points. So, when you feel worthless or guilty or anything negative, unhealthy about your self-image, you are then accepting the fact that things can be better, right? What can be better? Something can be better. And if that's the case, then that's good news. That's really good news, right? And if it can't be better, then why are you complaining, right? What's there to feel bad about? So confront it. Be real with yourself about it. You know, it doesn't have to be an experience that drags you down. There is no room for hopelessness in this. It's all good news, no matter which way you look at it. And, you know, it's just proof that you have light within you that's preparing to come out into the world in some way. I promise. And, you know, you want to hold on to that. Because eventually you will have clarity. And I don't know how or when. That's your path, and I can't say that for you. But you will eventually see the light at the end of the tunnel, and then things will make so much sense. And I'm only saying this to you because I know this firsthand. I've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. I completely understand. And I'm a testament to that. So please, hang tight. It's totally worth it. I I love you, fellow human. I really hope you got something great out of this. Please feel free to share it with anybody and everybody who you think would get use out of it. And of course, please feel free to share your perspective. We have comments down below. So share your perspective, share your experience. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful week. Much love.